Hey guys, it's Ari and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up as the lift moves. I apologise for the noises you might be able to hear outside. I don't know how well the camera microphone is going to pick it up, but the builders are moving things around on the scaffolding lifts that are right outside my windows, and I can't exactly ask them to stop for me to film. So I have my bullet journal here. Yes, I have a bullet journal, shut up. And I'm going to go through what I managed to get through and to read in this past month. I don't think I have, oh no, I have one physical book here, a singular physical book. Some of them are at home, so I do have physical copies, but I didn't bring them to uni because I'd read them already, and most of them are e-copies, so I'm going to grab that one physical book. So first up, I read Shattered by Terry Terry. This is the third book in the Slated trilogy, and I gave it 5 stars as per with her writing. I'm so excited to get to read more of her books. She's got a relatively new series out. She's going to be releasing a prequel for the Slated trilogy, and I love these books. They are so well written, and I think that they really do the dystopian genre justice. They aren't just the same as every other dystopian, they really are. To me personally, I find them different and unique and refreshing. There is a man watching me, can you not, sir? You have the weirdest helmet out of everybody working on this building site. He can see me. I mean, I could just shut my blinds. I could just shut my blinds. I'm gonna just shut my blinds. Why is it taking me that long? And now the builders can't see me. Woo! So yes, I gave Shattered 5 stars. Brilliant. Next up, I can still hear them. Ugh. Next up, I read A Rue by David Meredith. He sent me this book to review, and I ended up really enjoying it. Can you not drill? I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I wasn't expecting to give it that high. I have a review on my blog. I shall link it, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting it to be, and the beginning was disappointing, but the ending was not. The first third I had to push through, but the last 2/3 I flew through. So I'm so excited to get to Halls of Hell, which is the second book in this series. Kannst du stumm bitte? Then I read Anna and the Swallow Man, which my mum bought me from Forum Books. Thank you, Mum. And I've been going to try and read Truth Sister by Phil Gilvin, but it was too dense and I was giving myself a bit of a panic because I was trying to read it quickly before I left, and I just then couldn't get into it and I put myself in a reading slump. Well done. So Anna and the Swallow Man is a shorter book. It's 230 pages, so I knew I could get through it in time. And so that pressure was relieved from me and I was able to get into it and really enjoy it. It's based in World War II, it's been on my TBR for 5 years now, and I gave it 5 stars. No one is surprised. Then I read The Psychopath Test by Jon Ronson. This I bought in a charity shop because I had read So You've Been Publicly Shamed by him previously. I got that from The Works years ago, and I really loved that, and I read through it so quickly and I knew that I could do the same again. This one was 286 pages, so again on the smaller side, and it's non-fiction, and I know I can read Jon Ronson fast, so I didn't put myself under any pressure, well, too much pressure, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was good and it was intriguing and it was interesting to see his viewpoints, but I have studied psychology and my boyfriend has a degree in psychology and a master's in neuroscience, and just the inaccuracy and the conclusions he was coming to with the lack of evidence. I'm aware it's pop psych, but it was just, I had to take it down a star. Like, I know it's not meant to be proper, but it had to go down a star just because it wasn't. It was still really interesting though, and people's point of view is still interesting even if it's not backed up by scientific evidence. You can distinguish the two, so I did enjoy that. Then I finally finished Of Blood Exhausted, which is the third book in the Blandford Candy series by Jamal Evans. I can't put the cover up here because there hasn't been one made yet. This I beta read. I adored the Blandford Candy. I adore the Blandford Candy series. Flippin' heck. And I was really excited to be able to then read this third one before it was actually published. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't quite as good as the first one, but I did still really love it, and I managed to read quite a bit of it on the train down from Newcastle to Portsmouth, which was a long journey, so I was very glad to have something to do. And yes, it's a great book, and when it comes out I am going to be promoting it like hell. Now on to the only book that I have a physical copy of here with me in Portsmouth. Ooh! Which is Happier Thinking by Lana Grace Reaver. This was sent to me for review by the author, and it's a very thin little book, and it's a non-fiction self-help. So it's all about combating negative thinking, recognising negative thinking within yourself, and finding ways to fight this and to actually think positively, or just not as negatively as you were thinking previously. She does state right at the beginning that this is not a cure for depression, but I think that it is something that can be used by people with depression. Hello. Once you're on meds are great if you find the right ones for you, but you need something to change that mindset. And that won't go away just from medication, and this is something that personally I think could really help. There's lots of good bits of advice in the back. Again, I have a review on my blog, so I will pop that down in the description below. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a lot of common sense, and it's things that you'll read that and you go, well yeah, but you won't have thought of it on your own. If you have this problem of negative thinking, I don't know about you positive thinkers out there, but if you are a negative thinker, you won't have thought of it on your own. And just having it brought to your attention, being able to see and determine whether you have this negative issue yourself, and ways of going about changing it. It's just a really good book for that. And it's a nice short read too. Then I read, oh, kicking cables everywhere. Then I read The Mystery of Three Quarters by Sophie Hannah, which is the third book in the new Poirot series, originally by Agatha Christie, that she's writing. And I adored this. I gave it, was it 4.5 or 5 stars? Either way, I gave it a high rating. I think it's 4.5. I really loved this. I think it was done really well. It captured the time well. She didn't modernise it too much. You can tell slightly that it's a modern writer, but at the same time, it's many decades after the originals were published. There will be changes in writing styles, even minute ones. So I really enjoyed it, really brilliant, a quintessential classic mystery story which I absolutely adore, and I got this from NetGalley for a review, so I really want to go back and read the first 2 and keep up with the series as it comes out. Then I went for a kids book, which was Time School by Nikki Young, and this is Americans call it middle grade. Here in the UK we call it 8 to 12, just age range, and it's aimed at these guys, and it's all about World War One. A little different to my usual. Not much though. And these kids get sent back in time to their old school, but in World War One times, and they kind of get more of a feel for the country at the time and how important it is to remember those who fought for our freedom and things like that. And it's coming up to Remembrance Day here in the UK, which is on the 11th of November, mainly celebrated at 11 AM because that is when the Armistice Agreement was signed. So we do have a few minutes of silence then, and lots of parades and things, and the Queen will go lay some wreaths and poppies and things like that. It's quite a big day here in the UK. I don't know how it is abroad. It's released in a timely fashion for that, and honestly, I think it could have been done a little better. There wasn't too much substance to the story, and I'm aware it's aimed at younger readers, but you can still have substance within a story. However, the aim of it was still really good, and kids will still enjoy it. It's just not as fleshed out as it could have been. So I gave it 3 stars. And then finally I read The End of Turak, which is a compilation from various different authors, and I both gave this a rating and didn't finish it. So I DNF'd this book, but I also gave it 3 stars, and I'm going to put up a blog post at some point in the future about this. but I don't know how to talk about it right now, other than saying that the poetry and the writing style wasn't for me, hence the 3 stars, but I DNF'd it because it wasn't intended for me. This seemed to be black authors from Chicago writing for black people in the US. It was very much intended for that group of people. I am not the person who should be reading it, is the feeling that I got frequently throughout this book. And I know that we should read outside of our comfort zones and outside of our little areas, but this didn't feel like one of those books where anyone could read it, it's just that people don't. It felt more like this was intended for a black audience. I could be completely wrong. I'm white as hell and British as hell, so I really don't know, and I mean absolutely no offence to anybody out there. That's just kind of the vibe I was getting from the book. So if you are interested in the Chicago area and kind of what's happening in that time, I do know a lot more now just from reading half of this book, so I definitely do recommend for that. And if you, yeah, I do recommend giving it a go, essentially. Maybe like get out from the library or something like that. But just as a white British female, it didn't quite feel like I should be reading it. And I don't know how to say that without sounding racist. Yeah, it felt like I wasn't the intended audience, that it wasn't meant for me. This wasn't something made for white people, it was made for black people, and there should be more of that. I don't know, editing that bit is going to be interesting because it's difficult to talk about without sounding like a knobhead. I'll leave in as much as I can so that it's like really honest and open, but I hope you guys know that if you have taken offence, I didn't mean any of it. I just don't know how to talk about it. So that's that. That's everything I read in the month of September. So I've not finished anything yet in October. It's the 3rd. I've started 1 book, have not finished any yet, and I've already bought 2 more. Shut up. But yes, fingers crossed I can have just as good a reading month at the end of this month. I have got uni now and it does take up a lot of my time. A master's course is a lot more demanding than an undergrad, I am discovering. At least my undergrad. So it's very hard to find the time to read when I don't just want to collapse from like my brain melting from all this maths that I'm doing. I hate maths. So yeah, I don't know how well I'm going to read. I might not finish a single book, I might finish all of them and read extra, but that scenario is unlikely. So yeah, tune back in at the end of this month to see how I do, or the beginning of next month. If you have enjoyed, please click like and subscribe, and I will leave links to my Instagram, my Twitter, my Goodreads and my blog down in the description. They are always down in the description, and please leave a comment if you've read any of these books or want to read any of these books, and I can chat to you and persuade you one way or the other. And before I go, apologies for the noises. There's nothing I can do. They work really late. For builders, they work really late, and I just needed to get the filming done. So hopefully you can't hear much of it, and hopefully it's not too distracting. I apologise. There are subtitles, so if it's a lot noisier than I think, then I hope that they've helped you. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye! My eyeballs hurt. See? See? Builders. Builders! Dun dun!